Okay. Great. I want to welcome, we're going to begin the webinar today. Performance testing, a healthcare application with HL7 and JMeter. I want to welcome everyone back to the Redline 13 webinar series that we've been doing. I've been enjoying the different conversations with different folks, and today would like to welcome Janesh Kodikara from Pragmatic Test Labs, and would like to welcome you, Janesh, and make sure that everyone can hear you.
Hi, Celestine. Hi, everybody.
Hi. I think we'll get started, and wanted to start off with a little bit about your company and your background, if you could start there.
Okay. Thanks, Celestine. And first of all, I should thanks Redline 13 for giving us opportunity to share the our experience in this particular project and share with the community. I'm Pragmatic Test. I'm CEO of Pragmatic Test Labs, a software testing company based in Sri Lanka. We provide services like test automation, performance testing, and manual testing, and some other testing services. I have 16 plus years experience in the industry.
Great. And today we're going to cover performance testing with a healthcare application, and maybe you could tell us about the project that that got you involved with this type of load testing.
Yes, this particular project is an enterprise application where a lot of devices, healthcare application actually, a lot of devices are connected to patients, and the information from the patient is patients are diverted into a dashboard, kind of ICU dashboard, where the people, the particular stakeholders like doctors and other staff can review information. So this application was developed in using Java and MySQL, and the information is shared between the devices and the dashboard, mainly using HL7 the protocol, and the merge connector is used. It's an open source application where the HL7 messages are routed between the dashboard and the connecting devices. And the communication is done over MLLP protocol. And we should stress why the performance testing was very important. It's very important to get the patient's information on time to make correct decisions. Otherwise, if it is taking long time, it could be already late, and it's very important. And across the healthcare sector, this particular protocol is used, and yeah, so we were given the task to do the performance testing of this particular application using open source tools, because there was limited budget, and we had to stick into JMeter because that was the only popular tool with a lot of flexibility, and we selected JMeter.
Great. And what a little bit about the architecture of the project? What did it look like? Janesh?
Hello. You can see the devices connected to the patients. You can see device 1, device 2, and device N, like multiple devices connected to the beds basically in hospitals. So the information coming from these devices are sent to the rules engine. You can see next to the devices. These messages are coming in HL7 format, and this particular rules engine pass the or the process the HL7 messages coming from the devices, and based on the predefined rules. For example, say if the heart rate is going beyond particular figure, the color is set. For example, if it is exceeding the threshold level, red color is set, and likewise different rules are applied to the messages, incoming messages, and sent to the mirth connector that you can see in the green color box. And the mirth connector basically ESP like application where the incoming messages are further processed and sent to the dashboard in this particular application. The dashboard is a web application, a user interface, and the mirth connector will populate the database with the information, process information. For example, in my example, I told that the information received from the devices based on threshold level, if it is exceeding, the red color is set, and the stakeholders can see, I mean, the values like indicators, and they can process based on that. Okay.
So this was tested. This is really real life healthcare data that's important and valuable, obviously, for the patients and doctors and everybody. And so is Mirth Connect and HL7, are these open source protocols? I don't come from the healthcare space.
It's an open source project. It's open source. Mainly for the HL7 protocol. It's provided HL7 interface engine.
Wow.
Basically.
And so as part of this architecture, what did you need? What was part of your scope? What did you need to performance test?
Yeah, good question. Like the simulating the devices, I mean, getting information from multiple devices and sending concurrent information or the load, heavy load to the mirth connector. Simulating it using real devices is not practical at all, like having number of devices. So what we did was getting, if you go to the previous screen, our scope is within this area within the green square. So our scope was to send multiple messages, simulate sending multiple messages, the patient information, and view it through the dashboard and see the response time. Yes. And the sending data from devices to the rules engine, and the delays in processing the raw HL7 messages into the process HL7 messages was out of our scope. Our scope was to identify the delay from mirth connector to displaying the data or the process information in the web browser or the dashboard.
Right. And what kind of load were you trying to generate with this? What were your eventual, how much messages would come through, and I guess what do these messages look like?
Yes, if you Yeah. So it's very important. I mean, if it is just even a single patient, I mean, number of messages coming from even from single patient is thousands, right? So the number of messages are huge, and this particular example shows the format of the HL7 message, and this is particularly for a patient admission. Like you can see the placeholders where we use this as a template for generating the test data. PID stands for the patient ID, last name, first name, and the birth date, gender, home, and the bed ID. So likewise, we had a number of HL7 templates to simulate, or rather create the test data for different kind of uh, messages, like for example glucose, lactate, heart rate, and dialysis. Likewise, we had number of templates for creating test data.
Great. And what were some of the challenges in actually building out the performance test?
Yeah, good question, Sebastian. Actually, there were a number of challenges in this particular project, and the reason was, I mean, when we got the project and we were very much comfortable with the tool, and so we thought of, I mean, JMeter should have something, I mean, supporting HL7 as well out of the box. But when we dig in deeper and went through the documentations and contacted the community, few experts, but we were not able to find any component supporting sending HL7. Like so, we knew that we have to go beyond. That means extend the JMeter to support the HL7. And so what we did, I mean, we knew that we had to do scripting. So there were areas like to create our own component, but the time limit was very limited. So we gave up that idea and we stick into existing component, that is BeanShell, and use that particular BeanShell to call external API, I mean custom API created by us to generate the SML HL7 messages and send them, and all simulated externally. So you can see the list of APIs that we created in this particular project, and used for some other utilities, like for example inserting the data into encoded information into a database. As you understand, it's very important in Western countries that disclosing patient information is very, I mean, sensitive information. I mean, even they can take legal action. So we had to follow the rules applied in this particular context into right, and create insert the data accordingly. And the main challenging areas were sending the HL7 and reading the JSON. Right now, you can understand that there are plugins available for the JSON, extracting data from JSON. But those days, I mean, in 2013, August 2013, there were no plugins available for extracting data. So we had to write our custom API for that as well. And the limited timeline, and it was limited timeline, and we had to do everything within 1 month. And the team over there, I mean, at the customer side, was not familiar with the the performance testing in this particular context, and we had to train them and get their support, project management, and technical stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know I'm impressed to be able to pull this all together in 1 month and really build your own form of a plugin with and obviously predating even the JSON piece that's been contributed to the community. So I mean, you used BeanShell, you used Java, and integrated all that into JMeter. So from that, you must have come out with a set of best practices or things you've learned. Maybe you could share some of that with us.
Yes. Uh, so while doing this project, I mean, we learned a lot of things. I mean, even while practicing for this particular session and sharing knowledge sharing session, even this webinar, we learned a lot of things. And like, for example, we had to restore this particular JMeter files into JMeter to see the structure, because we forget things, right? Because we know a lot of projects, and we realized that we cannot open that particular file in latest version of JMeter. So we had to know, I mean, had we done this, I mean, proper documentation somewhere in internal wiki or internal documentation, so we could avoid that. So it's very important to do documentation of the software, not only the JMeter, JDK and the plugins that you have used, uh, and they should be documented, and how you did the things, and where the informations are saved. And version controlling is very important. For example, some of your scripts or test plans may not work with some of your uh, the plugins that you develop. So it's very important. Uh, and we use the variables extensively to make this testing very much, I mean, configurable. For example, we develop in our test environment and deploy into the server and run without any changes. Uh, so what we did, we created even for the files and the test data, I mean, for the message, number of messages, everything into variables in the test plan level. And we use the timestamp for the test result files, and we realized that running the test just once is not sufficient, and rely on the information. We knew that we had to run the test at least 5 times and see whether the data is test result is consistent. Otherwise, we have to run it again, because otherwise we cannot rely on this. Actually, these best practices, and we learn from the Microsoft best practices as well. And there is a book called Patterns for Performance Testing, and there we learned about these best practices as well. And use of the timers. Timers very important to simulate the users' real behaviors. Like usually there is delay, think time. So we had to use the timers, otherwise it will be like the request response and like of scenario. So using these timers were very important. In addition to that, we realized that when we use the jar files that we created and try to simulate the sending the HL7 messages and checking the responses, we noted that our client machines get stuck even before the server. So what we did was, I mean, we realized that these jar files were heavy, right? and because of that, what we had to remove the unwanted extended variable. For example, there were a number of jar files inside the lib folder. If you go to ext, where you have all the plugins, not the core jar files, and we understood what are the unnecessary files, and we removed them, and we could get the performance improved. And in addition to that, we did number of things uh, to improve the performance in the client side. I mean, to keep the JMeter uh, running, without adding much load to the client side. So running some of the best practices, like running the non-GUI mode, the command line mode, and saving the test results into CSV file format instead of what do you call the JTE format, XML format, uh, and we didn't use any listeners like the view result tree. Of course, we use a view result tree for in the smoke testing, like to verify our scripts. But otherwise, we use simple data writer, the naked listener, where we don't get any UI. So, and we limited our responses, rather assertions, to minimum, absolute minimum requirement. So to ensure that the less load is added to the the uh, the
Server piece or?
yeah. In addition to that, there were a number of best practices that we learned, and selecting the scripting language itself. And I think this is not the best practice, something that we learned from our mistakes that we did. We selected Java for the scripting, and it's because that we had limited time, and we had access to the Java expert, and we knew Java a little bit. So what we did, we selected Java, but we realized that Java is not the best option for the scripting, and we should have selected something like Groovy. But we had very limited time, and we didn't have any experts in those scripting languages. So we selected BeanShell and Java, and there were other samplers available, like for example BSF and uh, the TCP/IP. Of course, we tried TCP/IP, and there were issues with the TCP/IP sampler, and we selected the BeanShell because we were familiar, and it supported Java directly. And in case of BSF, we had to import some additional Java files into uh, the to the JMeter. So we did not want to try out with that, and we used Java and BeanShell. And of course, on those days, we did not have cloud solutions like Redline 13, and what we had to do, while looking at these technical difficulties, management difficulties, and we had to manage the environment also. So we had to distribute the test among several agents, JMeter agents, and we had to do it ourselves. So I think nowadays the users may have much better options. And
And so what
yeah.
scale did you get to?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of scale did you get to? How many messages per second, or what was your measurement that you were shooting for, and what did you get to?
Yeah, for example, the heart rate comes in every milliseconds, right? So, so if we have, say, and multiply with the patients in the hospital, right, based on the requirement. So likewise, we had to manually, and the patient, this the clients were not able to give the exact requirement, right? So we have to generate the number of messages based on the requirements. For example, uh, every milliseconds you get heart rate, right? So the devices you get not just heart rate, right? Even from single patient, it get number of messages coming. So we had to simulate all those uh, message. I mean, I don't have the exact number at the moment, but we know that how we calculate it, because in some projects we can ask directly from the client how many users coming during this peak hours, during a day, likewise what they do likewise. So we had to calculate number based on number of patients available and the maximum number of patients, and their devices connected to them, and the the rate of the data generation. Based on that, we had to create the number of messages. Yes.
Yeah. So it's been great. Definitely learning a lot. Really like what you guys tackled in integrating and using HL7 and the uh, MLP protocol and Mirth. It's quite impressive of bringing that together, and it shows a great showcase of using all open source JMeter, Mirth, for performance testing, and integrating that on your own, solving a customer's real need. And so I don't know if we need to get into restoring all. I think you talked about some of these pieces, and some of this became available publicly. I know you had mentioned a MLP TCPI client, and I think is that plugin available publicly?
Yes. Yes.
And did that come out of your project, or is that something new?
Yeah, that's something new, and this was not available at the time, and today it's available. And we are not any longer working with the client, and we just knew that a new uh, plugin is available.
By the way, if anyone else has any questions, as we've been asking some of them for you, feel free to put questions either in the question section or the chat section. So one other question that I think is on there. You mentioned that you would run these tests a few times in a row. And can you explain what was that what was that kind of missed time in there, or stability that you were seeing? Did you ever figure that out, or is this a best practice that everybody should take forward with them?
Okay, you are referring to the running the test at least 5 times and ensuring that at least four tests are consistent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the best. Something that coming from uh, mathematics, right? And you need to see whether the informations that you are getting, I mean, the test result is correct, right? For example, if you just get the your the test results in all values same, I think you cannot rely on them, right? It has to be like a Boltzmann curve or the normal curve. I mean, there will be so likewise to ensure that your data is consistent, and there may be some issues, like for example, when you run tests, there may be some particular batch process running on your server. Because of that, it may add some additional impact on your test results. So to ensure that you don't get any other dependencies or the issues or the outsiders into your test, so it will be, it is a best practice. I mean, so if you run the test for multiple times and you see that test result is consistent, that you can rely on the test result. I mean, still, I think you need to review data, right? And also another practice is you need to run the test for at least uh, 3 hours. Like if you run just a few seconds or rather few minutes and you try to generate the test result, and that's not going to work because there may be outliers and which is adding some greater impact to your test. So you should run test for longer time. So selecting test scenarios is very important. Uh, Otherwise, what will happen if you have many scenarios and you run the test for 5 times and 3 hours, you may not have enough time. So you can imagine the challenges like test execution itself take longer time, and if you don't have proper environment, proper uh, setup, then it takes longer time, and sometimes if you don't plan well, your testing will be in vain as well.
And as Redline 13, we can't disagree. We can only agree with running more tests and longer tests. But it's obviously very. I like where you're going with that. You need these pieces because we see the same thing in many people's tests. Well, I ran it one time and it was like a 2-minute test, but the next time I ran it, it was different. And so because there's so many different variables in the environment, especially with healthcare applications and even with other enterprise applications, there's so many variables. By being able to run the test multiple times and seeing the average or seeing that there's no big fluctuations, you really can feel more confident in those tests. And we, of course, encourage people nowadays to integrate that with Jenkins and integrate it into your development process and your development life cycle. And now that the tools make it so much easier to do that, including what we've done from a cloud testing, but just even JMeter and how it's grown and the plugins that have grown, it's so much easier to do in the community. Janesh, I know that myself and Sebastian want to thank you so much for taking the time. For anybody out there, take a look at Pragmatic Testers. Pragmatictestlabs.com is the website. Obviously, they've done some great work with JMeter and performance testing and understand the details from custom protocols to understanding customers' requirements. So, Janesh, thank you very much again. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for giving us a chance for sharing our experience and knowledge, and it's very much productive, and we learn a lot through this process as well. And thank you very much.
Thank you. That'll conclude the webinar for today. Look forward to future webinars and keep listening in on Redline 13.